Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi has returned from a tour of Latin America, where he signed dozens of agreements with three allies who share Tehran's defiance of Western powers. The Iranian president, accompanied by his foreign affairs ministers, arrived in Tehran on Friday after a 5-day trip to Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba. Throughout the trip, Raisi criticized the United States and the economic sanctions imposed on Iran and its allies in Latin America. Washington did not directly comment on Raisi's trip. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby instead reiterated that the U.S. is concerned about Iran's destabilizing behavior and will continue to take steps to mitigate it. Maria Elvira Salazar, chairwoman of the subcommittee on the Western Hemisphere in the U.S. House of Representatives, told Fox News that Raisi's trip demonstrates the failure of President Joe Biden's Latin America policy. She said he has allowed the world's worst actors to penetrate our hemisphere with impunity. Raisi said in Caracas relations between Iran and Venezuela are not normal diplomatic ties, they are strategic. The nations of Iran and Venezuela have shared enemies who do not wish us to live independently, he said about Washington. The two countries signed more than 24 agreements, several related to energy, including deals on developing an oil platform and a petrochemical products plant, maritime transport, agriculture, medicine, information technology, insurance, and cultural ties. Iran and Venezuela signed a 20-year cooperation plan last year during a Maduro visit to Tehran. The two presidents said this week that their new agreements are in line with better implementation of that. Raisi said that annual bilateral trade volume currently stands at more than $3 billion, and the two countries can boost it to $10 billion in the medium term on their way to a target of $20 billion. Maduro said he wants to install a bust of Qasem Soleimani, an Iranian general who was assassinated in a U.S. drone attack in Iraq in January 2020 at the resting place of Simon Bolivar, a Venezuelan military and political leader who led parts of Latin America to independence from Spanish colonial rule 2 centuries ago. We pay homage together with our heroes and martyrs to all the heroes and martyrs of Iran, in particular to General Qasem Soleimani, who was assassinated by Yankee imperialism when he was fighting against terrorism, Ortega said. The Iranian president railed against the sanctions that America has imposed on Iran and Nicaragua after the collapse of the 2015 Iran nuclear deal and a crackdown on the Nicaraguan opposition. The U.S. wanted to paralyze our people with threats and sanctions, but it hasn't been able to do it, said Raisi, who later addressed Nicaragua's National Assembly. According to Iranian state media, the two presidents signed several agreements covering economic and trade cooperation and the health sector. On the last leg of his tour, the Iranian president traveled to Havana. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel greeted him, who promised to bolster political engagement with Tehran. When the president of Iran comes to our country under these conditions of sanctions against the nation of Cuba, it strengthens our faith and belief in Iran, he said. The Cuban president also promised to visit Tehran this year, saying a trip has been in the works for some time but had been prevented by the COVID-19 pandemic and other issues. The two countries signed 6 agreements, which included a political cooperation roadmap. Iran's health minister, Bahram Einalahai, said the tour resulted in one of the biggest achievements of the holy establishment of the Islamic Republic of Iran in the health sector, as Iran and all 3 countries agreed to establish a joint health cooperation working group. He said Iran, which says it produces almost all the medicine it needs, will export drugs and medical equipment to Venezuela and Nicaragua while also aiming to boost university collaboration with all 3 countries. In Havana, Raisi and Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian also met former President Raul Castro. An alliance between Iran, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Cuba would strengthen their geopolitical influence, challenge Western dominance, foster economic cooperation, and create an anti-U.S. stance. It could involve military cooperation and impact regional stability, drawing international responses and potential conflicts. And with this, Ebrahim Raisi has achieved another diplomatic success on the global stage. And this would have been his #1 achievement on this front if not for the Iran-Saudi deal. Watch our video on this topic right here.